So we'll give it another minute or so for people to make their way in, and then Alami, you can take it away.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. I've just put the pre-survey link back in the chat for anybody that's just joined us. And Alami, you can take things away. Get us started with preparing for the future of work and your career.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So my name's Alami, and I'm here to talk about preparing for the future of work in your career. And welcome to today's workshop. So this workshop is with the Canadian Foundation for Economic Education, and they were pleased to partner with the National Bank of Canada to do a series of workshops to help post-secondary students across Canada just get better in handling their money. This workshop will last about an hour, and then we'll have a little bit of time afterwards for a live Q&A at the end of our presentation, and that should be for about 30 minutes. And just a pre-phaser, these workshops are intended to help serve as a foundational resource to get you thinking about your finances. So it's just not just, it's about everything along the way and your financial journey. So as we get started, just consider this information that we're giving you and how you can apply some of these ideas and some of these concepts to your personal journey and your personal financial situation. And I just ask that you remain engaged during the topics of what we talk about today. So, like I mentioned before, CFE and the National Bank have partnered to offer post-secondary students these workshops just to help support them on their financial journey. Now, why are we here today? We're here today because our workforce, as we know it, is changing. And we want to ensure that, you're comfortable with some of these changes that are happening. And we want you to also understand some of the opportunities that exist for all of us today in this new environment. And also to ensure that you feel ready and that you can adapt to these changes. So we'll be talking about today. We'll talk about the fourth industrial revolution. So there's a lot of changes that are occurring right now due to artificial intelligence and automation. And what's happened is that the global pandemic has sped up some of these changes that usually would have taken a few years, but now it's accelerating really quickly. And the truth is we're not going back to the economy and what we used to do a few years ago. Things have changed significantly since then. And then we'll look at the future of work. What we know is that 85% of the jobs in 2030 have not yet been created. And then we'll talk about some of the skills for success that you're going to need and how you can identify, how you can improve, and how you can highlight these skills that will be very important for you in the future. Some learning objectives. If I've done this right, you'll come out with three things. The first is understanding the workplace transformation that's occurring. The second is you better understand the skills required for you to succeed in the future. And the third is we'll be able to improve and highlight your skill set so you can stay in demand. So the fourth industrial revolution. Here's what we're going to cover in this section. We'll describe what the fourth industrial revolution is and how things like automation and artificial intelligence, AI, are transforming the workplace as we know it. So how did we get here? Well, if you look at this little diagram, we see that there's the industry 1.0, which is the steam industry. Then we move on to 2.0 electricity, then 3.0 computing, and then 4.0, which is cyber physical systems. So our society started as hunters and gatherers. And back then, way back then, we wondered a lot for food and shelter. And then our human intelligence grew, and we realized that food could be grown in one place, and we could also trade it to others who were growing different foods and crops. Then the invention of the steam engine in the late 1700s sparked the beginning of the first industrial revolution. And that lasted until about the 1800s. And that revolution was highly disruptive, and it took a long time for people to embrace the progress that came with it. Then in the late 1800s, the invention of electricity and the idea of mass production really activated what the second industrial revolution looked like. It helped make products more accessible and more affordable as well. So things like cars and some of these items became redundant during that time. This revolution required highly specialized workers to work in an assembly line and do repetitive tasks. And then in the third industrial revolution, it brought about the computer chip, and it was something that they termed the third wave. It began in the mid 1970s, and a lot of workers lost their jobs during that time, but it also created a lot of new jobs. One example is the introduction of the personal computer, so the PC that we use these days. And when that came about, it created a lot of jobs with it. And then in the fourth industrial revolution, which is what we're in now, the digitization is the driver of this revolution. Automation, machine learning, AI has also changed the landscape really significantly. In this period of time, there's going to be a lot of jobs that will be lost, and we'll take a look at that as well. But a lot of new jobs will also be created. And like we mentioned before, the fact that 85% of jobs in 2030 have not yet been created, that's part of the things that we'll see as part of the fourth industrial revolution. So the world of work is rapidly changing. When you use Google Home, Amazon Alexa, or Apple Siri, you're using artificial intelligence. And these are examples of how AI's impacted our lives. In the workplace, AI uses computer systems to perform tasks that usually would require human intelligence. Tasks like visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages, as well as repetitive and tedious tasks are also just being replaced by automation. And robotics are finding applications in fields such as medicine and manufacturing. The fourth industrial revolution really got underway in the early 2000s, but it's now gaining a lot of momentum at speeds that is surprising all of us. All indications are that many of the jobs that we know will be gone, but a lot of new ones will also be created in this period of time. So here's an interesting quote about the workplace post-pandemic and how it's impacted the future of work. The quote is by Milton Friedman, and he's an American economist and Nobel Prize winner. The quote says, "Only a crisis, actual or perceived, produces real change. When that crisis occurs, the actions that are taken depends on the ideas that are lying around." So this pandemic that we saw was a worldwide crisis, and the workplace transformation was underway, and because of the pandemic, it's really accelerated it. So if organizations engage their workforce and their customers collectively, they can come up with the best ideas to move forward. Okay, so we're going to do a poll. What do you think of when you hear the word automation? Okay. So the people that responded, when you hear automation, you think about worried about your future. And I can see that as well, because like we mentioned, with AI coming in, a lot of the jobs that we know it can be replaced by AI, but it also gives us the opportunity to engage in new works that come up in the next few years. So what this really is showing is that because of automation, a lot of the sectors will be impacted as a result of that. So, the hospitality and the food industry will show a 57% change as a result of automation. Manufacturing 35%, all industries 34%. But healthcare and the educational services will be impacted the least, because creativity and empathy, and these are key skills of human beings, those can't be automated. You can't change what you get from that and put that into AI. It just doesn't replicate it in the same way. And other sectors will also be impacted in different ways. And it might not necessarily take away the total number of jobs available, but it'll help create new jobs that will help advance individuals like myself and organizations and societies like all of you. A lot of repetitive and tedious tasks will be taken over by automation, and it'll leave humans to do the tasks that require the critical and the creative thinking, the complex problem solving, and the ones that also require collaboration and communication. So how is automation different today? Well, Henry Ford's automation changed the way goods were manufactured. Today's automation can be broadly sorted into 3 different categories. The first is data automation, second is physical automation, and the third is self-automation. Now, data automation is having digital systems replacing manual tasks such as bookkeeping. Physical automation is about replacing, the repetitive tasks with things like AI or machines, tasks like assembly lines and things like that. Self-automation is about having the consumer take on the task, so self-serve kiosks and e-commerce. All this automation does is it results in more fulfilling work and a more convenient life. So it makes you do less of the boring things and lets you engage in the stuff that requires thinking and the fun side of things and the critical side of things. So this illustration shows how different our lives are evolving. We can see automation in things like blockchain, in our homes, with virtual reality, when you can go shopping now with automation, AI as well. With AI, you can go shopping, I meant to say, sorry, and it's in our homes as well. And it just shows that we can use AI to do a lot of the tasks that we currently do to help enrich and make our lives better. Another quote that says, digitization is an opportunity for us all, but only if we do it right. To do so, we need to think about societies in new ways. And above all, we need to gain a new understanding of work and labor. So that was, the first section, and some key takeaways from that section is work is dramatically changing. And the second thing is we have an opportunity to augment technology, and humans are much better at empathy and areas where it require people interaction. So we can leverage those ideas and those skills, and we can use AI to complement it as well. And then the third idea is that automation is changing how we live. Okay, so for the future of work, I remember mentioning that 85% of jobs in 2030 have not yet been created. So how can we possibly plan for them? In this section, we're going to look at how you can not only plan for these opportunities, but you can also create them for yourselves. Future of work. Work is being disrupted. That's the first thing. We'll look at how work is being disrupted. We'll also look at why in this future that we're talking about, analytics will be really important, and the expectation of change at all levels for all of us to consider. Okay, so this video will look at the fourth industrial revolution and how it's directly changing work. And it'll be a great little segue into our next section. So let's see if I can get it to play here.
Like any of the previous industrial revolutions, it's clear that the fourth industrial revolution is driven by technology.
Data, artificial intelligence, robotics, and a lot of new technological inventions which are changing our business and will also change society in the next coming years.
We have created a large amount of computing power, tons of data and connectivity. And those three elements, they trigger all kinds of innovations such as machine learning, AI, IoT, who again then start to influence emerging technologies like biotech, infotech, and so on.
I do believe it will be fundamental. I hope that for us human beings, we will have a more seamless integration with technology.
But it's much more for me also hacking into reality. It's really changing the reality as we know it. We are facing a huge talent crisis, which has never occurred in history before. We're talking about a deficit of 85 million highly skilled people by 2030, because it's on a global scale. And solutions from before will not be applicable in the future.
Everybody who still walks around that believes that what he's doing today is still going to be relevant and that he's still going to do it the way he does it right now. It's time to wake up.
HR, talent acquisition, talent management should be one of the first priorities in the next coming years, because it's not only enough to hire the right people, it will also become a very big challenge to keep them on board.
I think we will all need to look around for changing roles, changing content of the job continuously.
Working with data and knowing how to treat data and how to manipulate them, how to make overviews of that data, I think that's going to be important.
However, it's us and the decisions we make in what we do with the technology that's going to define the outcome.
Tech savviness is a given. People will need to be able to work with these new technologies.
What I consider to be much more important and valuable are the soft skills you need in this uncharted world.
And so in that respect, the human touch is really important. And so we need to also invest in that, making sure that people understand what these new technologies are doing and how they're changing their lives. But on the other hand, also making sure that communication and an open mind, tolerance towards others is also key to the fourth industrial revolution.
Well, the impact on businesses will be huge. The agility for change will be very important because we are moving at an incredible speed.
And if you embrace change, you're not afraid of it. And then you can learn continuously and you can basically adapt to any situation that comes around.
Something that we need to have in our mind, in our mindset, namely exponential thinking. And that's going to be one hell of a stretch because we are used in thinking in linear terms, and exponential is the new kid on the block.
Not be too rigid about your thinking, but have an open mind in things and be flexible. If things change, then change again and change with it. Agility for learning or nimble learning will become even more important than it is already today.
Adaptation, adaptability, being able to be retrained, to stay curious also with what is going on in the outside world will be key to success and really build upon a continuous education during the whole lifetime of people.
I don't believe in doom and gloom. I don't believe that people will be replaced by machines and robots. I don't believe that.
A lot of things are coming together and it will change the way that we live. There's no need for fear. It is here. We need to adapt. We need to embrace it.
We have evolved to become a better place. In fact, the technology allows us to turn this entire planet into a Garden of Eden.
It's going to change life fundamentally.
And I think that the opportunities are huge for everyone.
So here's a quote from Jeff Schwartz, the US future of work leader at Deloitte Consultant. And he says, disruption lies ahead. It's driven by accelerating connectivity, new talent models, and cognitive tools. Work is changing. As robotics, AI, the gig economy, and crowds grow, jobs are being reinvented, creating the augmented workforce. We must reconsider how jobs are designed and work to adapt and learn for future growth. So what he's talking about essentially is that the gig economy, which is a new phenomenon that has kind of really generated itself for the past few years. And ideas like being able to leverage your own card that we use every day to drive people, so like Uber, Lyft, or food, or when people, Uber, Lyft, so like Uber Eats, Skip Dishes, is an example of what a gig job looks like. And that concept is here to say employees like the flexibility to be able to create their own schedule, and employers like also being able to dial up and down their workforce whenever the industry demands for it. And this concept will evolve, but it won't completely go away. There's no doubt that thought leaders around the world are also predicting that jobs are going to be reinvented and the workplace will be redesigned to advance the augmented workforce. Okay, so this graph illustrates how workplace will have to augment and redesign work to enhance each role that workers do. Once they realize, or once they see that AI and automation can relieve workers of repetitive and mundane tasks. This will also engage workers and create more value for customers and workers. This transformation will not be stagnant or one and done. It will be dynamic and ever evolving. When you think about, ordering food in a fast food restaurant, that's also now being automated, which frees up the servers to provide better service to their customers in other ways. And that's because they've removed the repetitive and mundane tasks of taking the order and punching it in. You can now do that yourself, and they can now focus on providing you the best experience while you're there. So here's 6 things that you need to know about the future of work. The first is analytics are trending. Being able to draw inferences, make unexpected connections, and identify overarching trends is a competitive edge. In the 21st century, data is an employee's greatest asset, and you use data from lumber production to content creation. You can't get anywhere without analytics. The second is math is a big plus. Whether you like it or not, the numbers are also here to stay. Over the next 40 years, 70% of job openings will place significant importance on math and numeracy skills. So the ability for you to be able to factor quantitative and spatial information into your decision making will also add up to your career success. The third is firms want flexibility. So the demand for expert skills will dwindle compared to demand for adaptable workers who are ready to learn new things. And this lesson is about to become more important in many lines of work as the pace of technological adoption picks up. So we either embrace the change or we risk being left behind. The fourth is digital is non-negotiable. So humans are still in the driver's seat, but machines are riding shotgun. Coding is an important skill, but even basic digital literacy can also provide huge productivity boosts that employees can't do without. Humans have been mastering new tools for millennia, and don't let down your Stone Age ancestors. The fifth is the 3 C's are crucial. So communication, collaboration, and critical thinking will serve you well in any career. And the sixth is mobility is the thing. So we're all creatures of habit, but the future of work is shaking things up dramatically. And yeah, your parents might have had clear-cut career paths that they chose to take, but our professional lives as we move on into this next age will feature a lot of unexpected twists and turns. And being able to be mobile in your career choices is really the new and normal. And it's what's expected as we move on into this next phase. But for us, it can be exciting. I'm sure it can bring a lot of stress, but if you try and embrace the exciting side of things, it provides a lot of interesting opportunities for you in the future. So over the next few slides, we're going to talk about what the future of work actually looks like in terms of changing jobs. So jobs on one side of this chart is jobs that are disappearing, and the other chart is jobs that are growing. Now, it doesn't mean that because a cashier job disappears, an app developer job will appear. It's just showing that, jobs like cashier, postal carriers, bank tellers, these are jobs that we might still see them, but we don't see them as frequently as we see them anymore. And now we're hearing about jobs like, app developers, social media manager, data scientists, health navigators. These are the jobs that are starting to appear, and they're starting to grow. So in this chart, emerging careers for the fourth industrial revolution is what's noted, but we shouldn't forget that it's also estimated that 85% of jobs in 2030 have not yet been created, and we also haven't heard of them yet. So it's anticipated that the number of job openings will be significantly higher than the number of job seekers by 2026, which is good news for all of us as we start our journey in our career journeys. So this is Arya Ghul, and she's a good example of someone who's increased their credentials to move into new and interesting work. So for example, we see that Arya started with an undergraduate degree in forestry, and then she moved to forest technician. Now she's an air photo interpreter, and then she decided to go get her master's degree in remote sensing and forestry, so she could add more skills to make her more marketable in the workforce. And then now she works as a forest inventory and planning data analyst. So Arya's showing us that it's good to be able to adapt your skills to do different jobs, and she's still staying in the same line of work. She just adapted her skills to be able to do different things that her company requires. So it's not just jobs that are changing, but really the entire makeup of work itself. With people living longer and working into later years, there are now more generations in the workforce than ever before. 5 different generations that grew up in completely different technological and societal situations will all bring unique skills and characteristics to the workplace. These different qualities will all contribute to the success of each other by complementing and contrasting experience and ingenuity. This workplace transformation isn't just also happening from the employer side, because we mentioned that 85% of jobs haven't been created, but those that are created will also include roles within existing organizations, and employers themselves need to be prepared for that. Workplaces will have to focus on providing opportunities for employers to learn and enhance or add new skills through a variety of different options. Employers will also have to be able to hire employees with the social and emotional skills to fit the culture required for their workplace. Actually, it's funny because I was at an open house here yesterday for Porter, and what they talked about was that they're not just hiring someone who can fly a plane, they're looking to hire someone that fits into their culture, because what's more important for them is that you're able to get along with their teammates and the people that you work with. So that's something I think that employers are realizing even more so nowadays, and it's good for us to know that as well. Employers will also have to be able to create network rather than hierarchical organizations, also be able to facilitate cross-functional collaborations, and then also be able to emphasize results rather than attendance. So we see that instead of the classic 9 to 5, it's more about what is it that you've been able to produce over the last 2 weeks. You have goals that are being set for you, and deadlines to meet and those sort of things, as opposed to, oh, did you work 8 hours today and then clock in, clock out. So some key takeaways from section 2 is what we mentioned, that 85% of jobs have not yet been created. Jobs in 2030 have not yet been created. That technology will give us better data and analysis of that data, which will allow us to apply more creativity in the workforce in the future. And the third is that communication, collaboration, and critical thinking are big keys, or hugely important in this next phase. So for third and final section, we're going to look at some of the skills for success, skills that are required to be successful in the future. So we'll talk about the skills required for future careers, how you can develop these skills, and how you can highlight your skills so you can stand out from a crowd and you can get a job as well. Okay. I'm gonna ask, what skills do you think that you need to thrive in the new economy? And if anyone has any suggestions, you can just put it in the chat. I'm going to pull up the chat here. Or you can speak out as well. Conversation skills, absolutely. So what I'll do is I will show you some of the top 10 skills that will be needed in the next decade. The first is complex problem solving skills. Second is critical thinking. Creativity is one of them. People management skills, being able to coordinate with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation skills, and cognitive flexibility. Now, we're going to run another poll to find out what skills do you need to develop. So we can pull up that poll. Okay, Chad, do you have the results? Okay, so people that responded chose service orientation. And yeah, that's a good skills that need to be learned or developed. But I think the reality too is that there's going to be multiple different skills for all of us to work on. And that gives us just more opportunities to learn. So one of the most obscure skills on our list is the idea of emotional intelligence. So this video will show you what emotional intelligence looks like and how it can help you grow and perform in the workforce.
Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, interpret, and process emotions in yourself and others. While genetics, upbringing, and environment all play a role, there are steps you can take to develop your emotional intelligence over time. Get to know yourself. Emotionally intelligent people are self-aware. They have a realistic appreciation of their strengths and weaknesses and how they come across to others. Peer feedback is one way of improving your self-awareness and may uncover a few of your emotional blind spots. Learn your triggers. Linked to the notion of self-awareness is knowing how you are likely to respond in particular situations. Think about how you felt the last time you were under pressure. Did these feelings help or hinder you? Recognizing emotions and the source of these emotions can shift your emotional state. Empathize. Seeing things from someone else's perspective will help you understand their values and beliefs. This is important when it comes to motivating and engaging others. Make a conscious effort to get to know your colleagues. Ask open questions and actively listen to what they have to say, rather than simply waiting for your turn to speak. Be on the lookout for body language and other non-verbal signs, as these may tell you more than someone is willing to express out loud. Own your emotions. part of being emotionally intelligent is about taking responsibility for the way you interact with others. If someone upsets you, pause and reflect on why their actions led you to feel this way, instead of reacting impulsively. Recognize that a conversation is a two-way interaction, and it takes two people to make you angry, sad, or frustrated. Go with your gut. Finally, listen to your body. If your stomach starts doing backflips every time you speak to a senior manager, or your muscles tense up before you go into a meeting, what does this tell you? Counterintuitive as it might seem, emotions can be a valuable source of information when making rational decisions at work. Remember, emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about learning how to recognize, process, and channel them in a way that benefits you and your team. Enhancing your emotional intelligence requires effort, but it can be achieved with sustained practice.
Okay, so now you have an idea of which skills you need for the future and which of those skills might still need a little bit of work. So what do you do about that? Your next step is to actively work on improving the skills that you've identified as needing some work. One way you can improve some of those skills is by reading. It could be articles, professional development books, or even novels. Reading helps you stay informed and improves your comprehension, communication, and creativity skills. You can just learn new things as well, even if they may not be directly related to your skills that you want to develop, but it will also make it that it's easier for you to be able to adapt in the future. You can ask for feedback whenever possible. So getting feedback on work that you've completed is also a great way to identify your strengths and weaknesses and to keep track of how changes are progressing. You can identify people with the skills that you want to work on and observe them, see how they do it, see where those skills come up and how they're able to deal with situations, and reflect on how their approach might differ from yours and whether there's some value in adopting some of their practices. Finally, having a mentor can be a great way to nurture different skills. There are also resources available that can help both instruct and inspire you to improve your human skills. The first is LinkedIn Learning. It's a professional development branch of the social media platform LinkedIn that offers many different instructional videos to help you grow. Some of them are available as standalone videos, and some also come in the form of a series. You can search on specific skills that you want to work on or specific roles that you're interested in, and it'll recommend skills that are valuable to you in that role. So other than LinkedIn, there's also other resources. There's TED Talks. TED Talks are lectures given by industry professionals and leaders in their field, and are generally very well respected. Watching TED Talks can be a great way to improve on your personal skills and broaden your overall understanding of many topics. At SU College, actually, we had a TEDx event, and it was a great one to listen to learn from people that are top in their industry. And the last is YouTube. YouTube has a virtually unlimited wealth of information that's only a search away. A lot of the information on YouTube is really valuable. The video we watched in emotional intelligence was a YouTube video. All you just want to do is make sure that you're assessing whether the video is trying to sell you something or just provide you information. And watch out for videos or ads that claim that they have the answer or they know secret millionaires don't want you to have. There's no one size fits all to improving your skills. Now, when it comes to getting hired, it isn't just about having the right skills or experience for the job. You also need to have a resume that will highlight those skills and be able to sell them to a hiring manager. So we'll watch this quick video on how you can make your resume stand out. Then we'll dig a little further into it in the next slide.
Hi guys, with an average of 250 resumes sent for a single opening, you want to ensure your resume stands out. We're going to give you some great tips to help your resume stand out. Tip number 1, ensure your resume is formatted for resume screeners. Most companies use applicant tracking systems, which scan your resume before it's seen by humans. These applicant tracking systems delete 75% of resumes on average, and they are never seen by human eyes. Many times, the applicant is qualified, but the resume isn't optimized, and it can't be read correctly by the software. Keep your resume format and font simple and professional. Use capitalized 1- or 2-word headers and avoid fancy fonts or colors. This allows the software to easily scan your resume without any errors. Tip number 2, keep your resume short, concise, and to the point. Remember that recruiters only look at a resume for a few seconds. Keep old and irrelevant experience off your resume. Make sure that what they look at is effective and relevant. If your resume is longer than 1 page, ensure that the information on the first page would make a recruiter want to look at the second page. And tip number 3, read the job description thoroughly. Make sure to edit your resume to best reflect the skills and qualities mentioned in the job description. Not only will this help your resume match the keywords required by the applicant tracking system, it will also help it stand out to the employer. Thanks for watching, and to read some more tips, please click the link in the description. ZipJob also offers a free resume review.
So let's take a look at some of the resume's do's and don'ts while you're working on your resume. You want to ensure that you keep your resume to the point. So an average employee will take about 30 seconds to skim through a resume, and if they can't find what they're looking for, they'll just move on. The best email address to have on your professional resume is something that's probably based around your name. So just keep it first name, last name at whatever gmail.com. Don't use any of the I love Harry Styles or any of those thingies. You want to keep it really simple and really professional. That way they remember that if they're going to email you, it's just your name and your last name, or just your first name at gmail.com. Connect your resume to the application. So take your time to look through what the application for the job posting you're looking for is, and try and put some of the skills, if you know, applies to you in that in your resume. That way, when they look at your resume, because they know what the candidate they're looking for. So when you look at your resume, you want to ensure that your resume highlights the skills that they're looking for as well. And also try and include unpaid experiences to show off some of the relevant skills that you have. Don't use too many bullets in your resumes, and don't make just big, broad, general statements in your resumes. Resumes are crucial to getting hired. When you're writing a resume for a new job, or you're reaching out to different resources, when you're writing a resume for a new job, reach out to as many resources available. A lot of schools have employment hubs that can help review or even create your resume. Sioux College has the Career Job Center, and they do good work in helping with resumes and formatting your resume properly. On this slideshow, there's Work BC Employment Services Center, Ottawa Employment Hub. So each city should have a job or work center that kind of works with employees to get their resume formatted properly. The Government of Canada also has a resume builder program that you can sign up for that offers templates and a simple fill-in-the-blank approach to preparing the professional resume. And there's a link included in the resource document. So some key takeaways from section 3 is that human skills are going to be the key to the future. Second thing is that any skill can be improved. It just takes time, effort, and practicing. And the third is resumes are essential to getting hired, and they highlight your skills and experience to potential employers. So really take the time to prepare your resume so you can increase your chances of getting the job. In summary, we've talked about the fourth industrial revolution, the future of work, and employability. A quick recap about the fourth industrial revolution is that work is dramatically changing. Humans must augment technology, and that there is automation happening everywhere that's changing how we live. The recap from the second section is that 85% of the jobs in 2030 have not yet been created. There's going to be more creative work in the future, and technology will give us better data and that we can use to apply in the workforce. And that 3 C's are critical: communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. So we must apply this as we prepare for the future of work. And the last section and the 3 key takeaways is what we already mentioned: human skills important, can improve any skills, and make sure you work on your resume. So if, like I mentioned, if I had done my job right, coming out of this workshop, you've had a better idea on the transformation that's occurring in the workforce. You understand what skills you require to succeed in the future, and you recognize how to improve and highlight your skills so you can stay in demand. So the next steps are: research the sector that you want to work, create a plan that will help enhance your skills, check out whatever resources are available for you to help enhance those skills, and figure out how you can improve the sector where you want to work, because it's very likely that that sector will also see dramatic changes in the future. Thank you. And though we can do a Q&A session if anyone wants. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Alami. If anybody has any questions, yeah, feel free to throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A. That's what we're here for. Help answer any of your questions. We'll give it a couple minutes because it can take some time to get everything typed up. If anybody wants to, you can also raise your hand and we can unmute you if you have any questions you want to ask, but you don't feel like typing them up, whatever the situation might be. And in case there are not any questions, I'm going to just say now, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Alami, for the presentation. I'm going to grab the post survey link and put it in the chat. So you complete the pre and post survey for this workshop, you'll be entered into a draw for one of 4 $50 Tim Hortons gift cards. Get that link there in the chat now for everybody. So it seems like people are making their way out. So I don't think we have any questions coming in. So I will say again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Alami. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.